Good morning, traders, and this is your Aussie day trade setup for today. So we did get the move to the upside as I was expecting. Got some decent profit out of that. So pretty much a 2.5% return on capital with the one Aussie trade that we had in yesterday. So that was fairly nice, pretty nice setup that we got. And I'm still of the opinion that we could potentially have this second move here, which is this one here. Okay, it's just gonna be so volatile that you're gonna want to be taking profit as often as possible. Okay, so if we look at what's happened here, so I've got this level drawn in here, but that's the actual close. We've got some nonsense data in on the last bar on the chart at the moment, which has given us indecision. But that is basically a pin bar, and look to the left here off this level. That's a little bit of a worry. Okay. So let's just drill down and see if there's anything else we see here. So firstly, on the 3 hour, we had the gap up and we've rallied, and then we've had this sort of one bar pullback where we should have closed in this area. This bar here is a nonsense bar. Okay, however, if I look at what's going on at the moment, futures market is fairly flat at the moment. 10 cent is pretty flat right now, and the US dollar rand is 14.78, which is also fairly flat. So oil had a pretty big move yesterday to the downside, and I see it hasn't recovered much. It's pretty flat, which is what drove the Dow yesterday. But everything else is just sort of treading water. It was just the Dow that had a fairly big move to the downside. 0.4%, not very big, but it did move to the downside nevertheless. So I think that the point here is that we've broken through these inside fractals here and come back to test it, and we closed on it. Okay, we do have a magnet to the downside, and we've got a magnet to the upside. We've got a gap to the upside and gap to the downside. And guys, you see what I mean when I talk gaps? Look for your inside fractal, don't look at the gap, and look what happens. That's exactly where the seller stepped in, off that inside fractal. If we look at this on the hour, you'll see there was my take profit area there, and that's exactly where we got to. Okay, so I think at the moment we've sort of had this, if you look at the hour, kind of a rounding bottom, range break, etc. So I still believe that we should be looking for longs. Maybe, and we're going to get a deeper pullback. Pretty much anyone's guess at the moment. There's quite a bit of support lower down, and maybe even a Fibonacci pullback. That might be a half decent entry for a long. I'm just going to put that 61.8 in there, and then just get rid of the noise. There we go. So 61.8 is pretty much here. We've got this inside fractal here as well, which is what I would expect before the gap closes. And then you got the gap. Well, we've got two gaps to the downside. We've got this one and we've got this one down here. So I'd like to see some structure. We are pretty much, we had a very good solid move to the upside, but the sell-off, which was driven by the US markets, and well, pretty much oil more than the US markets, is a bit worrying, and it has formed a daily pattern which is not really filling me with much confidence at the moment. I'm actually leaning towards the fact that the Dow Jones has got a decent setup for today, so that's the one that I need to be trading. And let's wait and see what happens with this thing. Either look at the closing range. Closing range is massive though. It's these last two bars here. And this profit taking and a bit of a sell-off here may trigger some more moves to the downside, I think. Or somewhere into this area here would interest me. So let's see, it's 5600, 5683. If we get through that area, I think you're going to have a fairly good chance of closing this gap and the bottom gap. But I think the way to do this today is to watch the 12-minute Ichimoku. I think that's what we're going to be doing. Okay, so we've got to close below the alligator, which is an indication that there could be a trend change. I want to see a retest of the alligator pointing down, and then I'm willing to accept that and take that as a trade to the downside. And it would be a short-term trade. I think it's very volatile at the moment, so good possibility that that could be the setup. But let's just have a look at the Ichimoku. I think that's going to give us a much better understanding of what's going on. Okay, so the reason why I'm using the 12 minutes on the Aussie is because it works. Simple as that. So you can see when you're trending on the 12 minutes, there's a 12-minute downtrend. It works. There's a 12-minute uptrend. It works. Okay, so we've had this 12-minute uptrend, and pretty much you could be moving your stop below every 12-minute fractal here. And then what we have is this breakdown. Okay, we do have a cloud. So we've got quite a bit of support to the left as well. So it just sort of leads me to believe we need to be cautious and pay attention to these levels. Okay, I'm picking up off the inside tails of these inside fractals. So this is what we need to be paying attention to. If we look at the 30 minutes, trend is up at the moment. But again, these levels are pretty interesting for me. The hour, we've had this cloud break. I would expect to see a retest of the cloud, but everything here is bullish except for QGIS and Teganson, which is quite far apart and leveling off. Okay, not much support if I look at the cloud to the left. And if we look at the 4-hour, top of the 4-hour cloud, we've had a crossover, which is bullish. We've broken through, which is bullish. We've rejected the top of the cloud, which is what is expected. Only thing that's concerning is the twist in the cloud is red, so my future is down, not up. Okay, so there is a mixed bag of signals here, so I'd be very careful of this at the moment. And there's something else that I see there, but we'll highlight that again now. Looking at the daily, I've got a potential double bottom here, but that's off that fractal and this fractal. And pretty much in between QGIS and Teganson, which is always an indication of ranging as well. So yeah, I am more leaning towards the fact that there's not really a decent setup here. I think if you are going to trade this, the 12 minutes the one to do. Bear in mind you've got a crossover here. So yeah, if we do get a bit of a rally and then start moving, there may be an opportunity, but you're going to find some support off these levels. And maybe what you want to be doing is just keep going with the trend at the moment. If we do get down to 56.08, that would be an opportunity to buy. Stop below the gap. And there's also an opportunity to buy here at 57.73. Okay, so that's kind of what I would look at, but based on the volatility of yesterday that I saw in the international markets, I'd be a little bit cautious about that. Okay, so the other thing that I wanted to just look at here was this here. Okay, so we've got this, we've got two trend lines here, so let's just take that one there, and then let's put the Fibonacci from that level to that level. What I'm looking for is an intersecting trend line, and it's right here. See, there's a 61.8 previous swing low. Not really something to be looking for, but I suppose it's fairly decent. But just look, we've got an hour, and do we have 3-hour fractals? Yes, we do have sort of 3-hour fractals, and it is also the bottom of the cloud. Okay, so that, I think that's what's going to interest me. This intersecting trend line, but you've just got to bear in mind that we do have a few levels. We've got 3 levels here we need to pay attention to. So anything from 56.08 5700 and 5773. Those are areas that would interest me for an entry to the upside, long, and stop would be below this gap close. Okay, now remember there is an outside chance of this gap closing, so what I would suggest is trade off the 12 minutes or 15 minutes. Wait for some structure to form here before hopping in. If you don't get structure, wait, because then you're going to see it at the gap close. That would break this trend line, which would also be, sort of be interesting. So anyway, I think for me, this is not the market I want to trade. The Dow Jones got a much better setup, so that's the one I'll be trading. And we'll watch this to see what happens. There's just too much going on here. And, Ichimoku is still not a clear break on the 4 hour. And we sort of haven't closed above Tekinson at the moment. And that's what we're looking for on the daily, because then that would indicate that we have some momentum to the upside. And for now, just want to put that close in, so we can just picture that on the daily. You can see there's our close there. So that's a rejection of Tekinson. So a break below the low of yesterday is definitely going to bring us to the downside. And the last thing we haven't actually looked at was the Fibonacci to the upside, and that gives us 61.8 rejection off the previous pullback. So it is also possible that we have this kind of thing, and that would close both those gaps and pretty much end down in this area here, 49,136. Yeah. Anyway, that's just an indication of a lot of confusion for me at the moment. We're at two Fibonacci levels. Where this area here is at a Fibonacci level. This is now a Fibonacci level. So this was the original trend, and that's kind of the view that I've got. This is an outside chance of moving to the downside, but it's still there nevertheless. Anyway, guys, I think I'm going to be staying out of this market today. The Dow Jones has got a setup that I'm quite interested in, and that's the one I'm going to be waiting for. Hope it helps, and I'll catch up with you guys later. Cheers for now.